The vast emptiness of space stretched before the Galactic Confederation scout ship as it approached the small blue-green planet. Commander Kiro Valen studied the holographic display, his three-fingered hand tracing the orbital patterns of an unremarkable solar system. Earth looked primitive, almost laughably defenseless. Reconnaissance data scrolled across the ship's screens. Population, 9.5 billion. Technology, early interplanetary exploration stage. Military capabilities, minimal compared to galactic standards. It would be an easy conquest, another simple expansion for the Confederation. Lieutenant Recco, a junior intelligence officer, adjusted the long-range sensors. Commander, we're detecting multiple communication signals from the planet's surface. They seem complex. Valen barely listened. Dozens of civilizations had fallen under Confederation control with far less effort. Humans would be no different. Their planet was rich in resources, rare metals, water, strategic orbital positions. Acquisition was inevitable. A small research vessel caught the scout ship's attention. It moved with an unusual agility that seemed almost deliberate. Most primitive species would show predictable flight patterns when detecting an unknown vessel. This ship, this human ship, danced. "Track that vessel," Valen commanded, a hint of curiosity breaking through his usual detached demeanor. The human ship performed a series of maneuvers that defied standard navigation protocols. It wasn't running. It was studying them. Impossible, Valen thought. A primitive species cannot perform such precise movements. Inside the human vessel, Commander J. Park watched the alien ship with calculated calm. Years of asteroid mining and deep space exploration had taught humanity something the Confederation didn't understand. Survival requires adaptability. "They're scanning us," said Elena, the ship's communication specialist. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces capturing every microscopic detail of the alien vessel. Park nodded. "Send standard greeting protocols. Let them think we're just another curious research team." The communication was deliberately simple. Mathematical sequences, basic cosmic positioning codes, nothing that would reveal the true capabilities of human technology. Just enough to seem cooperative, yet cautious. The alien commander found the transmission intriguing. Most species they encountered showed fear, panic, submission. These humans demonstrated something else. A calm, calculated presence that felt almost challenging. Recco's instruments picked up additional data. The human ship was collecting information about the scout vessel with remarkable precision. Its scanning techniques were unconventional, almost artistic in their approach. "Commander," Recco said, "their technological signature doesn't match our initial assessment." Valen dismissed the observation. Classification was simple. Technological levels were measured, categorized, filed. Humans would be another entry in the Confederation's vast database of conquered civilizations. But something felt different. The way the small research vessel moved, the precision of its communications, the subtle complexity hidden beneath an appearance of simplicity. Park watched the alien ship, understanding something the Confederation had not yet realized. Humanity's greatest strength was not in its current technology, but in its capacity to learn, adapt, and overcome. As the two vessels continued their silent dance through the darkness of space, an unspoken challenge hung between them. The Galactic Confederation believed they were preparing for a simple conquest. The humans were preparing for something entirely different. First contact was never about the first moment of meeting. It was about what happened in the moments that followed. And in those moments, humanity was already 3 steps ahead. The scout ship continued its approach, unaware that its entire mission had just changed. What seemed like a simple reconnaissance had become something far more complex, something the Confederation was not prepared for. J. Park allowed himself a small smile. The game was just beginning. The first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere, without warning. They expected submission. They found something entirely different. Soo Kim watched the initial attack from the Global Defense Command Center. Her fingers moved quickly across holographic screens, tracking multiple invasion points. The aliens had chosen what they believed were strategic locations, major cities, military bases, critical infrastructure. They were wrong. Humanity had learned something profound over centuries of conflict and survival. Adaptation was the ultimate weapon. Within minutes of the first alien assault, something unexpected happened. In Tokyo, local emergency response teams didn't panic. They had been training for unconventional scenarios for decades. Instead of running, they organized. Communication networks switched instantly to backup systems. Underground shelters, originally designed for earthquakes, became perfect defensive positions. New York's infrastructure responded like a living organism. Traffic systems redirected. Communication towers transformed into signal jamming platforms. What looked like ordinary city infrastructure became a complex defensive network. The aliens discovered something shocking. Humans weren't a single target. They were a distributed network of problem solvers. In Seoul, Hyun Lee worked furiously. A brilliant technological expert, she had been preparing contingency plans for years. Her team had developed electromagnetic pulse technologies that could disrupt alien communication systems without destroying local human infrastructure. "Target acquired," she whispered, pressing a single button. Across 3 continents, alien communication systems suddenly went dark. Their advanced technology, designed for simple conquest, couldn't handle the complex, unpredictable human response. Military units didn't wait for central commands. They acted independently. Soldiers, pilots, naval commanders. Each unit became a small, adaptable fighting force. They shared information rapidly. They changed tactics constantly. The aliens had expected a hierarchical response. They found a Hydra instead. In the Pacific, naval destroyers used unexpected tactics. Instead of direct confrontation, they used underwater acoustic technologies to confuse alien sensor systems. Ships became ghosts, moving with precision that defied traditional tracking methods. Satellite networks, originally designed for communication and research, became weapons. They redirected energy signatures. They created false targets. They made the human defensive grid look like a complex, impossible-to-understand system. Commander J. Park watched the global response from an underground command center. This wasn't just a military engagement. This was humanity protecting its home. "They don't understand us," Park told his team, "and that's our greatest advantage." Alien invasion forces found themselves fighting an enemy that didn't play by any known rules. Every time they targeted a specific location, humans would respond from unexpected angles. Military units moved like liquid, reforming constantly. In rural areas, farmers became resistance fighters. Local communities transformed into support networks. What looked like simple agricultural regions became complex defensive zones. The aliens had technology. Humanity had something more powerful: collective intelligence. Communication between human units happened through encrypted channels, local networks, and even old-fashioned radio systems. When alien forces destroyed one communication method, humans immediately switched to another. Technological superiority meant nothing against an enemy that could think in multiple dimensions simultaneously. By the end of the first 48 hours, the alien invasion force had lost over 40% of its initial strike capabilities. Not through direct confrontation, but through constant, intelligent disruption. Soo Kim allowed herself a small smile. The real battle was just beginning. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They thought they were conquering a planet. Instead, they had awakened a global immune system, adaptive, intelligent, and absolutely determined to survive. Humanity wasn't just resisting, they were learning. With every alien attack, human understanding grew. Technologies were being reverse-engineered. Defensive strategies were being refined. The invasion wasn't going according to any known galactic conquest protocol. And that terrified the alien commanders more than any weapon ever could. Park looked at the global defense map. Scattered, connected, resilient. This was humanity's true strength. The alien mothership hung in orbit, massive and seemingly invincible. But inside its complex system, something was changing. Something human. Yoon Choi sat in a small dark room filled with screens and blinking equipment. His fingers moved like lightning across multiple interfaces. Each keystroke was a weapon more precise than any missile. "I'm in," he whispered. Alien. Communication networks believed to be unhackable started experiencing strange anomalies. Messages became scrambled. Navigation coordinates shifted mysteriously. What seemed like random digital noise was actually a carefully constructed invasion of their systems. Humans had discovered something the aliens never expected. Technology was more than hardware. It was adaptability. In the first hour, Yoon's team managed to inject complex algorithmic viruses into alien communication protocols. These weren't just simple disruption programs, they were intelligent, learning systems that could modify themselves in real time. Elena Rodriguez coordinated the global response from an underground command center in Geneva. Her team represented 15 different nations, working with a unity that shocked the alien commanders. "Target their central communication hub," she instructed Yoon. The alien technological infrastructure, which had conquered hundreds of civilizations, began to experience total system breakdown. What looked like random failures were actually precise, calculated attacks. Alien engineers tried to repair their systems. Every time they fixed one vulnerability, humans had already discovered 3 more. It was like fighting a living, breathing, digital organism that could think faster than any traditional computer system. In orbital platforms, human satellites began transforming. Communication devices became signal jammers. Research instruments became complex scanning platforms. What the aliens saw as simple technology was actually a distributed, intelligent network. The first alien commander, Cairo Valen, watched in growing horror. His species had technological superiority for thousands of years. They had conquered civilizations without breaking a sweat. But humans were different. "They're not just fighting," Valen muttered to his second in command. "They're learning." Hyun Lee's team had already started reverse engineering captured alien technology. Within hours, they developed adaptation protocols that could transform human systems faster than the aliens could respond. Military units around the world weren't just defending, they were collecting data. Every alien weapon, every technological system became a learning opportunity. Humans were turning the invasion into a massive global research project. In the Pacific, naval units used captured alien communication frequencies to send false signals. Entire invasion squadrons were redirected, confused by complex digital misdirection. The alien technological advantage was becoming their greatest weakness. Yoon discovered something profound. The alien communication network wasn't just a system. It was a hierarchical structure with clear, predictable patterns. And predictability was a vulnerability. By the third day, human teams had mapped over 60% of alien technological communication protocols. What should have taken years was accomplished in hours. "They think in straight lines," Yoon explained to Elena. "We think in networks." Alien ships started experiencing mysterious system failures. Navigation computers would suddenly redirect. Weapon systems would activate at unexpected moments. Communication channels would collapse without warning. It wasn't just hacking. It was a complete reimagining of technological warfare. The global human response was something the aliens had never encountered. Every nation, every technological center was contributing. Universities, research centers, military installations, all working as a single distributed intelligence. When alien commanders tried to understand the human response, they found something terrifying. There was no central command, no single point of failure. Humanity had become a living, adaptive technological organism. Valen realized they weren't just fighting a planet. They were fighting an entirely new form of intelligence. By the end of the week, the alien invasion force had lost over 70% of its technological capabilities, not through direct confrontation, but through constant, intelligent disruption. Humanity had turned the invasion into a global collaborative research project, and they were winning. The battle moved beyond technology. Now it became a war of minds. Daquan understood something fundamental about conflict. Psychology was the most powerful weapon. While others focused on technology, he studied the alien mindset. The Galactic Confederation had a critical weakness. They believed all species responded to conflict identically. Hierarchical, predictable, structured. Humans were anything but predictable. Commander Rachel Armstrong watched the psychological warfare unfold from her orbital command station. Her team wasn't just fighting. They were sending messages. Complex, multi-layered communications designed to create maximum psychological confusion. Alien communication channels began receiving strange transmissions. Mathematical sequences that didn't make sense. Cultural references they couldn't understand. Emotional signals that defied their logical programming. Some transmissions appeared to be surrender requests. Others were complex jokes. Some were pure mathematical poetry. The aliens couldn't distinguish between serious communication and psychological manipulation. Daquan's team had studied alien communication patterns for months. They discovered something extraordinary. The Galactic Confederation had never encountered a species that could communicate with such multi-layered complexity. Human broadcasts included multiple meaning layers. A single message could be a surrender request, a mathematical challenge, and a cultural statement simultaneously. The aliens' translation systems began breaking down. In orbital zones, human ships started performing impossible maneuvers. They would approach alien vessels, then suddenly retreat. They would send precise coordinate signals, then immediately change direction. They transformed warfare into a psychological game. The alien commanders found themselves experiencing something unprecedented: uncertainty. Every time they predicted a human response, something different happened. Military units would scatter, then regroup in unexpected formations. Communication channels would go silent, then suddenly burst with complex information. Humans weren't just resisting. They were playing. Psychological warfare reached new levels. Human teams began broadcasting alien communication protocols back to them, but with subtle, almost unnoticeable changes. Just enough to create doubt. Just enough to make the aliens question their own systems. Commander Valen watched his invasion forces' morale collapse. They had conquered hundreds of civilizations. But humans were different. Humans turned conflict into a form of adaptive communication. Rachel Armstrong understood the real battle wasn't about territory. It was about making the enemy question everything they knew about conflict. Military units around the world started sending synchronized, complex signal patterns. What looked like random communication was actually a massive, global psychological operation designed to create maximum confusion. The aliens discovered humans could transform any system into a weapon. Communication networks, cultural references, mathematical sequences. Nothing was simply what it appeared to be. Daquan's most brilliant strategy was simple: make the aliens afraid of understanding humans. Every time the aliens tried to analyze human behavior, they found more complexity. Every attempt to predict, human responses failed. Warfare became a psychological maze with no clear exit. Human teams started broadcasting historical references, music, mathematical challenges, cultural jokes. The aliens' translation systems were overwhelmed. In orbital platforms, human ships would approach alien vessels, then perform impossible maneuvers. They would send precise coordinate signals, then immediately change direction. Warfare transformed into a psychological dance. The Galactic Confederation had technology. Humans had imagination. By disrupting every predictable pattern, humans created a new form of psychological warfare. They weren't just defending, they were demonstrating that conflict could be an art form. Commander Valen realized something terrifying. Humans were enjoying this. The psychological confrontation reached a point where the aliens were more afraid of understanding humans than fighting them. Every communication became a potential trap. Every signal a potential psychological weapon. Humans had turned warfare into a complex, adaptive game of mental chess. And they were winning. The Galactic Conference Hall fell silent when the human delegation entered. They didn't swagger, they didn't boast. They simply walked with quiet confidence. Ji-un Park led the diplomatic team. She carried no weapons, just a small digital tablet and a calm expression that seemed to unsettle the alien representatives more than any military threat could. Commander Kiro Valen watched her approach. His species had conquered hundreds of civilizations. But something about this human was different. She looked like she was walking into a business meeting, not a critical interstellar negotiation. "We are not interested in conquest," Ji-un said simply. Her voice was steady, her words precise. "We are interested in understanding." The alien Confederation representatives exchanged confused glances. This was not how conquered species behaved. Where was the anger? The demands for revenge? The theatrical displays of power? Humans had done something unprecedented during the conflict. They had not just defended themselves. They had demonstrated that defense could be an intelligent, adaptive process. Admiral Marcus Chen stood beside Ji-un. His background was military, but his approach was diplomatic. He understood that true strength was not about destroying an enemy, but about making that enemy reconsider the entire concept of conflict. "We propose a simple arrangement," Chen said. "Non-engagement, mutual respect, information exchange." The aliens had expected demands, punishment, territorial claims. Instead, they received an offer of cooperation that seemed almost naive in its simplicity, but it wasn't naive. It was strategic. Humans had demonstrated during the conflict that they could transform any system into an opportunity. Military resistance had become a global research project. Technological invasion had become a learning experience. Psychological warfare had become a complex communication dance. The human delegation presented data, not threats, not demands, just pure scientific information about their species, their planet, their capabilities. It was an invitation to understand, not to fear. Valen realized something profound. The humans were not offering peace. They were offering a different way of existing in the universe. Their technological systems had shown unprecedented adaptability. Their communication networks had demonstrated complex, distributed intelligence. Their psychological responses had been impossible to predict. The Confederation's top strategists had a terrifying realization. Humans were not a civilization to be conquered. They were a civilization to be understood. Ji-un's final statement was simple yet devastating. "We are not aggressive. We are adaptive. There is a difference." The negotiation wasn't about winning or losing. It was about establishing a new framework of interstellar interaction. Humans proposed something radical, a non-engagement protocol. The alien confederation would not approach human territories. Humans would not expand aggressively. Both would share scientific information through carefully controlled channels. It wasn't a surrender. It wasn't a victory. It was a redefinition of conflict. The alien representatives realized they were not just negotiating with a species. They were negotiating with a living, adaptive intelligence that could transform any situation into an opportunity. When the negotiations concluded, no treaties were signed, no formal documents were exchanged, just a mutual understanding that some boundaries were better left undefined. The humans left the conference as they had arrived. Calm, confident, unpredictable. Valen watched them go, understanding that he had just witnessed something extraordinary. Humanity had not just survived an invasion, they had reimagined what invasion could mean. In the vast darkness of space, a new kind of interstellar relationship was being born. Not through force, not through technology, but through an intelligence that could turn any challenge into an opportunity. Humans had not conquered the aliens. They had made them reconsider everything they knew about conquest.